Once again, welcome to the Lion's Roar. I'm David Ross. Now, let's be upfront and perfectly clear. Challenge matches have always been part of Chinese martial arts. I've noted, like in some of my history articles, that sometimes the most successful schools were the ones where challengers were frequently beaten up and then left to bleed on the front steps, almost as like an advertising, a call. The fact that sometimes there were slop fests and were horrible and have no technique, that's not unusual either. I mean, the most famous example of this was Chan Hak Fu versus Wu Gong Yi. There's that small clip of the quote unquote rooftop fights, which again, you know, the Bruce Lee fans were always talking about that. They made it sound like, it was the secret matches on Hans Island, then it was a bunch of like teenage kids, like, slapping each other. He does a Wu Mei system, Wu Mei Pai. The original teacher was one of those original Chinatown's teachers. Um, his business card, used to say, "Defective kung fu I will fix," which is basically like, "Come in and I'll beat you up." And I walked into that school, and again, I walked in there just to say, "Oh wow, you do Wu Mei," and I wanted to see if it was the same Wu Mei, and it was. And he took a swing at me. And then I mentioned in the Real Kung Fu group the fact that there was a guy who had the same name as one of the most famous as the most famous Shui Jiao fighter. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Chang had one guy who in Taiwan was considered the very best fighter. He was an incredible guy. And this guy had his same name, so he acted like he was that guy, and knew less Shui Jiao than I know Armenian. Finally, I said to him, I know you're not that person, and I know you're not what you say. And then we had some words, and again, at that point, I could have hauled off and so-choed him, literally smacked him, but instead, because there were people around, I think I took the better route in retrospect. But I basically put my arm out. I basically gave him my body, and I said, well, let's see. Couldn't enter, couldn't unbalance me, couldn't throw me.